Hi witches, in today's video we are going to be talking books. We're going to be looking at 4 very different books that I received at Yule as gifts. So 4 very, very distinctly different books that I hope you're going to love. I think you will. I'm going to just give a brief rundown of what they're about, who the author is, and then leave it up to you to decide whether you want to invest in them or not. Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you for watching. I'm Wren, I'm the Cemetery Witch, and as I explained in the intro, I am going to be showing you 4 books that I received at Yule as presents. So I did actually receive 2 others. One of those was the Witch's Date book, which we've covered a lot, and also a planner, but in terms of proper books I received 4. So I'm going to show you them one at a time in no particular order, other than at the moment they're stacked in a nice little size pile, so it's just easier to sort of handle them. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you've got any of these books, what you think, whether they've been on your wish list for a while. Yeah, let me know. And yeah, we're going to take a look at the first book. So the first one is Anan Cara by John O'Donoghue. He is an Irish poet, author, philosopher. We had a blessing out of this book on the last episode of the Witching Week. I was having a flick through last night to prepare for this video. And yeah, there are some really, really beautiful bits of verse in this book, and it's quite sad to think that he died a couple of days after his 52nd birthday. So he was really, really young, but he put together some really, really wonderful books. This book is all about the Celtic people, their divinity that they found in, you know, rivers, streams, hills, sea, sky, and this book is all about revealing treasures in your own soul and in your relationships with people. So this is a 25th anniversary copy. There's lots of poems in here, lots of just quite deep and interesting bits of writing, lots of topics and philosophies. It's going to take a little bit of concentration. It's not a quick flick through book. It's a sit by the fire with a mug of hot chocolate and really deeply immerse yourself in it book. I think this is going to be filled with really, really precious gems. So I'm really, really excited about this book, so much so that I just wanted to read one little excerpt for you. I'm not going to do this with all the books, but just this one. So I want to read out The Celtic Circle of Belonging to you. All through Celtic poetry, you find the colour, power and intensity of nature. How beautifully it recognises the wind, the flowers, the breaking of waves on the land. Celtic spirituality hallows the moon and adores the life force of the sun. Many of the ancient Celtic gods were close to the sources of fertility and belonging. Since the Celts were a nature people, the world of nature was both a presence and a companion. Nature nourished them. It was here that they felt their deepest belonging and affinity. Celtic nature poetry is suffused with this warmth, wonder and belonging. One of the oldest Celtic prayers is a prayer called St. Patrick's Breastplate. Its deeper name is the Deer's Cry. There is no separation between subjectivity and the elements. Indeed, it is the very elemental forces that inform and elevate subjectivity. I arise today through the strength of heaven, light of sun, radiance of moon, splendour of fire, speed of lightning, swiftness of wind, depth of sea, stability of earth, firmness of rock. And that was transcribed by the looks of it, or translated by Kuno Meyer. So I just thought that was really, really lovely, and is just a little insight into the type of book that this one is. So I'm going to move on to the next book now, which is Professor Ronald Hutton, The Triumph of the Moon. And he's obviously a community favourite. He's a scholar who knows all about the history of witchcraft and modern witchcraft, and he does many talks in a year, quite often at events like Witchfest. So anybody who has heard him talk will just know how enjoyable he is to listen to, what a clever man he is, and how fantastic this particular book will be. This has been on my list for a long time. I've got another book by him, and I have to say I haven't read either of them yet. I'm trying to work my way through a long list, but I'm looking forward to the moment that I can read this. So there is a lot of book here. It doesn't look like a particularly big book, and it's not, but there is over 400 pages and the text is really quite tiny, so you might need some glasses for this one. Anyone who's heard him speak will just immediately want this book. So he's absolutely brilliant, what can I say? So in this book he talks about the history of modern pagan witchcraft. So there's lots of topics there, isn't there? Gerald Gardner, folklore, low and high magic, so many little things that litter the history of both witchcraft and modern witchcraft. So I'm really looking forward to jumping into this. It's got some brilliant endorsements on the back. For example, Robert Irwin said, "It all makes for riveting reading, and despite Hutton's demolition of the supposed lineage of witchcraft, I'm tempted after reading his book to become a witch myself." That's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? That's such a good endorsement of this book. Hutton has synthesised a huge body of sources and woven together a fascinating narrative with supreme skill. His Triumph of the Moon proves to be a triumph of cultural history, and that is Owen Davies of History Today. So really, really looking forward to jumping into that one. Thank you very much to my brother-in-law who bought me these books. Really, really appreciate that, and I cannot wait to read them. The Anan Cara one, at least, I've been dipping in and out because you're a bit more able to do that with that book. So they're not being left alone totally for too long before I get to read them. So the next book is one that I got from my husband, and I'm really, really excited about this book. I'm just spreading out my notes. Sometimes I have to put little notes in me just so I don't forget things. It is called Meeting with the Other Crowd, the Fairy Stories of Hidden Ireland. So in our house, we are a little bit obsessed with Eddie Lannan. He is this amazing character, big hair, big beard. He has this amazing way of recounting stories. He's an Irish author, storyteller and lecturer, and he collects stories. So he collects stories from people, mainly older people that obviously have heard lots of stories themselves. And there is actually a name for this in Ireland. There's an Irish name for people that collect stories and are storytellers. It's a tradition, it's a thing. I'll put that name on screen because I do not know how to pronounce it. And he checks out some of his stories. He always keeps an open mind, and he does believe a lot of them to be true, because he'll go to the place where somebody said something happened, and sure enough, everything is just as, as it should appear. And he gets quite scared sometimes. So I've heard some of his speaking put to music, and this is something I love. It's a bit like Alan Watts being put to Man of No Ego. So therefore, just in our house, we're just a little bit obsessed. I cannot speak highly enough of Eddie Lannan. Check him out on YouTube. He's on there telling a few stories. He's a national treasure in Ireland, apparently, although one of my Irish friends hadn't heard of him, which is interesting because obviously we don't have any context over here. You look him up, you read about him, they say he's a national treasure, and I'm sure he is, but my Irish friend didn't know him, so I do smile at that. But he has just got this crazy hair and beard and these wonderful mannerisms. You look at pictures of him and you're not sure whether it's a current picture or one of him in the 70s perhaps. He is a conservation activist. He obviously feels very strongly about looking after the countryside in Ireland and all these special places, the hill forts, the fairy rings, the native plants, all the things that make life magic. So these things appear in his stories as well, these traditional dwellings and stuff like that. So it stands to reason that alongside this work of his, he would yeah, he would be a conservationist. So I could listen to him all day, basically. I cannot say enough about Eddie Lenihan. He is just absolutely fantastic. We only discovered him in the last year, so he's fairly new to us. But this book itself features Carolyn Eve Green, and it's all about fairies, or the good folk, as we should probably call them. And it is split into 3 parts. So that is who they are and what they want, places and signs of their presence, and gifts, punishments and outcomes of encounters with them. So they're short stories, so you can dip in and out of it. The tales told to him are told by real people. They're real stories about real places, and so this book really does transport you to another world. I've had a little look, I've read a couple of the stories. I'm putting it aside now so that I can finish off my other books and then just do this one on its own with no distractions, and I'm just going to read from start to finish. So I'm absolutely chomping at the bit to read this. So yeah, check it out. Eddie Lenihan, Meeting the Other Crowd, The Fairy Stories of Hidden Island. Next up, we have a book called The Field Guide to Witches. So this is an artist's grimoire of 20 witches and their worlds. And this is a book by 3D Total Publishing. It doesn't list any sort of like names on the front. And then you go through the book and you look at the different artists and their concepts and their portrayal of different types of witches. And I'm going to say witches because that's what it says on the front, but some of these are goddesses. So for example, Isis, Hecate or Hecate, depending on how you like to pronounce it and spell it. But this is a lovely book. It's a bit like those Taschen coffee table books that you see that have got, you know, all the big pictures and are meant for leaving out. But this is a really, really glorious book. It's absolutely beautiful. There are, as the title suggests, about 20 witches, and they are each sketched out in a different style by different artists. And it's just absolutely brilliant. So let me show you. So here we go. We've got some like conceptual drawings here on Baba Yaga. So this book features Baba Yaga, Morgan Le Fay, the Spinning Witch, the Black Annis, which I'm really, really chuffed about because she's actually native to my local area. She's an English folklore character, but she comes from the Leicestershire area. And yeah, absolutely beautiful book. It's full of fantasy, kind of mixed with art and history and folklore. So this is a really, really lovely book just to sit and flick through. Really, really nice. So that is going to conclude my 4 books that I got for your very, very quick video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you end up buying any of these or if you've got them already and what you think. If you managed to get this far, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it. It only takes a few seconds. It doesn't cost you anything and it really, really helps my channel grow. So until the next video, I'm wishing you lots of love and blessings. Bye.